your own uncontrolled senses, which subvert you from within. You lose your mental balance very quickly. You feel immediately hurt for all petty things. Every now and then, the color of your face changes. All this means you are the slave of your senses. You have to take immediate steps to counteract them. The second group consists of the temptations of the world, which ambush you from without. One force is trying to devour you from within. The other force is trying to destroy you from without. You are caught between these two forces. They are the most powerful and obstinate hazards on your spiritual journey. So, if you are trying to attain spiritual excellence, there is no doubt you will have to subdue them. You will have to conquer these forces somehow or other. Sri Ramakrishna says that the more your love of God increases, the more insipid would become the pleasures of the senses. A poet has compared devotion towards God to a tiger. As a tiger devours animals, devotion also swallows up all your arch enemies. Who are they? Lust, passion, and the rest. Once the devotion to God is fully awakened in your heart, all evil passions like lust and anger, they are completely destroyed. The gopis of Vrindavan had attained that state through their strong devotion to Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna says to Uddhava, the foremost among the devotees, he said, as fire kindled into a blaze burns the faggots to ashes, even so devotion to him totally destroys all sins. You don't have to bother about the sins anymore. You don't have to bother about the samskaras troubling you anymore. You don't have to waste your mind energy in that direction anymore. That's the point. Secondly, bhakti provides you a compensatory force. One is conquering force, the second one is compensatory force. You may be deformed. You may not be beautiful to look. You may be blind. You may be lame. You may suffer from incurable disease. You may have no glamour or pronounced talent. You may be a poor one. You may have no education. You may be friendless. You may be victim of social injustice or political oppression. If you don't have love of God, any one of these situations is enough to make you most miserable. And often enough in our life, there will be a combination of two or more such, which will make life a constant agony. Constant agony. But if you have love of God, none of these situations will make you miserable. So, when God wants to send blessings, to give blessings to devotee, He does in remarkable way. What God has deprived you of, He compensates from within by Himself coming close to you. If one is deprived of the common physical or mental endowments, and at the same time is not endowed with at least a little love of God, that situation is indeed tragic. Again, one may be given beauty, money, learning, power, fame, all of which most people value. Yet, if one has no love for God, with even a little of any or all these, one may travel by expressway to one's own undoing. There is a Chinese proverb. It tells you, when God wishes to send disaster upon a person, He first sends him a little luck to elate him and see whether he can receive it in a worthy manner. When God wants to send blessing upon a person, He first sends him a little mishap and sees how well he can take it. It's only the real devotee who truly understands such dispensations from the Lord's gracious hands. Others clamor for those very things which will take them further and further away from God to their own ruination. Ram Prasad, a great mystic, he says in a song to the Divine Mother, Mother, who do you think is crying for your wealth? If you give it, it will be somewhere, it will lie uncared for. But if I can get at your feet, I shall cherish them in my heart. Bhakti has many important influence. As it continues to grow in a devotee who is striving in the spiritual path, spontaneously enriches him with an inner affluence of what the Gita calls Daivi Sampat, or divine treasures. Abhayam, Sattva Samshuddhi, Ahimsa, Satyam, Akrodha, etc. A big list is given there, which are classified as divine treasures: non-injury, truthfulness, absence of anger, detachment, etc. It's nice to meditate on those wonderful divine qualities. Like flowers of spring appearing in unexpected places with the advent of love of God, those qualities blossom forth unsought in the devotee's life. If you cherish real love towards God, then automatically you develop all these wonderful, noble qualities. So one whose understanding has been opened knows that no richer treasure is to be found anywhere. Thus, no question of compensation can anymore arise. Thirdly, bhakti provides the devotee with a protective or saving force. We have seen people, we have been seeing every day. Everyone is filled up with some sort of worry. Some people may express it, some may not express. It doesn't mean they are not worrying. Nobody is free from worries, in a way. Increase of worries seems to keep pace with the growth of affluence in almost all societies. The more affluent a society, the more are the cases for the psychiatrists. But for the true devotee, how easily can he get rid of his worries? The bhakta, the devotee, has no cause to worry himself over the miseries of the world, for he has surrendered his own self, the world, everything to the Lord. He has surrendered totally. If a man says he loves God and yet worries over things of any sort, he is simply giving the lie to himself. A true devotee of the Lord has no worries, free from worries. Because there is a story of a great devotee His name was Sudama, very famous episode in Srimad Bhagavad. Both Sudam and Lord Krishna studied together under a teacher. And after completing the studies, Lord Krishna went to Dwaraka and Sudama to his place. A poor Brahmin had many children. He has to support the family. Every day they have to think about the provisions. And Sudama's wife was greatly worried, naturally, how to feed all the children. No food, nothing is there in the home. How many days you have to go and beg among the people? So, she became totally disgusted. On the other hand, Sudama was carefree, as if no worries at all. He was always peaceful, calm, steady, simple, gentle, no harsh words to anybody, to even to his wife. The wife was shouting at him, abusing him. What sort of husband you are? You are not able to bring food to the children. How to live upon? Sudama never reacted in any manner. A personification of divine treasure which I just now mentioned. He had all the divine qualities in him because his love towards Krishna was supreme. His whole mind was given to him. He is totally relying on him. And so somehow he is managing to look after the household. One day the wife came to him. Well, sit before me for a few minutes. I want to talk to you. Spare some time for me. Because all the time Sudama would spend in devotion, practices, etc. He was not aware of the external things. Though his eyes were open, his eyes were looking outside, but he was looking inward all the time. So she forcibly asked him to sit in front of her. Then she said, well, see, they are starving. Our children are starving. Don't you think how to remove this suffering? Well, I got a plan. Why can't you go to Lord Krishna? He is your best friend, you told. Why don't you go to him? He can give you anything you want. When she said, you can go to Lord Krishna, tears of joy were flowing in torrents. He lost in ecstasy. And he immediately agreed, well, certainly I will go. I will start right now. She wanted her husband to go and ask Krishna to remove these worldly sufferings, to see that they get proper food and things. That is to help them a little bit. But then the tradition was, he is going to meet him, his friend, should he not take something to give him? What a fine sentiment. They are poor. But anyway, they managed to get some flattened rice. Chuda, they call in Bengal. So, generally, in the homes, poor people, they take that. And considerably it is cheap to purchase, to buy. It's not costly as the rice. Well, then she bundled it and in a cloth. Then he left to see Lord Krishna. Lord Krishna, the knower of the whole world, and immediately he came to know that his most beloved friend is coming. It was a very touching scene. You must read in Bhagavad how it is touching. And he tells his consort Rukmini, Rukmini, now the most extraordinary special guest will be coming. Be prepared to serve him. Krishna is telling. You have to take care of him to the maximum extent possible. When you are serving him, be wholly concentrated. Be very careful. Do it with utmost care and love. She was amazed. What Krishna is telling? Who is that extraordinary person? You will see right now, after some time, that poor Brahmin, he came. All the time he was thinking about Krishna only. So, Lord Krishna had instructed the people at the entrance to bring him with great honor. Accordingly, people went and received him, gave him red carpet honor to him. He was amazed. All his hairs were standing on end, hairs on the body. He was in joy and joy and joy. And he felt how he is most fortunate to see such wonderful friend who is giving joy. And so he came, and before he offered his greetings, Lord Krishna himself rushed towards him and embraced him. Well, Sudama, why did you not come all these days? Why? Why did you take so much time to come? You should have come earlier. Have you forgotten me? Like that, Lord Krishna expressed fine sentiments of love. He was overwhelmed. And he was given bath. All excellent treatment was given to him, and most sumptuous food was served to him. Everything was over. And his whole mind was occupied with the divine form of Krishna. There is no other thought in his mind. And he totally forgot why he came there. He was sent by his wife to ask for some monetary benefits. Totally forgot. Lord Krishna kept quiet. He didn't say anything. Just he looked after him very well, and he gave his blessings. What else is required? Then he was so full of joy, with great joy, he is returning home. When he was approaching the home, suddenly he remembered, what I have done? I didn't ask anything about my family, my children. What happened to me? Where was my mind? Just for a moment he thought like, then all right, let Krishna himself take care of it. He could not understand why he forgot to ask him. Anyway, he thought probably he may receive severe scolding from his wife. With that thought, he is returning home. But what has happened here, the whole thing has changed. That broken cottage has been removed. In its place, a wonderful palace has been constructed by the spiritual power. All luxuries, whatever the people expect, everything is ready. Sudama's wife and children, they are all very happy. And Sudama could not recognize his home. Where is my home? This is not my home. From the distance, from the outside, he's looking. What happened to my home? Have I come to a wrong place? Then the wife came out and took him inside, and she was so happy. So the point is, because he was totally dependent on Lord Krishna and his devotion was full to the brim, so he was not having any worries. In fact, all along he was telling, "Oh Lord, let me not forget your name any moment. Keep me always remembering you." That type of love we should cherish. That type of love is important. So when you are able to cherish that love in your heart, God is with you all the time. If a man says he loves God and yet worries over things of any sort, he is simply giving a lie to himself. That's the point. A true devotee of the Lord has no worries. Again, see the wonderful effect of bhakti. It destroys all sinful tendencies. And it saves the devotee from all kinds of sufferings, which would otherwise have been his lot. Moreover, if the devotee can really surrender himself, his ego and his karma to the Lord, he is released from the binding effects of that karma and from the interminable miseries thereof. Finally, over and above all these blessings, there is the Lord's unequivocal declaration. Name bhakta pranashyati. It's a famous assurance declaration given by Lord Krishna. He says to Arjun, Arjun, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. Whatever may happen to the devotee as far as worldly situations are concerned, through every danger, the Lord will see to the devotee's advancement towards the only ultimate goal of life, namely God. Even a depraved one, says Krishna in the Gita, if he resolves rightly and turns Godward, he will quickly attain spiritual excellence. So even the worst sinner has a place in God. No one is condemned eternally. God is more gracious to those who commit errors. The saving force implanted in the devotee's heart by bhakti finally manifests itself as utter fearlessness. He is not afraid of anything. Bhakti provides the devotee with a directive and integrating force. And makes out of an amorphous raw human being a highly evolved person through whom God's love and light might play even in the habitations of men. In a true bhakta, nothing goes to waste. Nothing goes helter-skelter. Integration is so spontaneous that there is a minimum of struggle for it. Everything falls into place in a supreme pattern of the ultimate economics of life, like a divine symphony. I conclude my comments by telling what Swami Vivekananda has said. Bhakti is not destructive. It teaches that's why Sri Ramakrishna said, gather your whole mind and direct it to God. Cherish love at God's lotus feet. Then everything is done for you. Sri Ramakrishna has shown the way to remove our ignorance. It has been pointed out by him very clearly. What is ignorance? Why are people suffering? Because of ignorance. What is that ignorance? Sri Ramakrishna puts very briefly, like an aphorism, I and mine. Every time, millions of times we use I. I did it. I came. I ate. I drank. I went there. I came here. I did this. Million times at least we use I in everyday activity. Million times at least. So, Sri Ramakrishna has very rightly pointed out, it is that rascal that is causing all ignorance. And secondly, the idea of mind possessing a kind of foolish involvement or entanglement. So, Sri Ramakrishna pinpoints, look, do you want to be free from suffering? Do you want to enjoy real peace and joy? Are you sincere about your aspiration? Simply telling won't do. Are you sincere? That's important. Your sincerity about your aspiration will come under severe tests in your daily activities. Whether you are acting in a spiritual way, in the name of spiritual activities, or whether you are acting in a worldly way. If you act in a worldly way, there is no need for you to have the guise of a spiritual aspirant and showing, look, I am doing spiritual activity. You are pleasing whom? If you forget your real spiritual aspiration, if you are not sincere enough, you become, or you tend to become, more worldly than the most worldly people in the world. Sri Ramakrishna, referring to this, said, people talk about, oh, this Dakshineshwar temple has been built by Rani Rasmani. Nobody says it was the work of God. They say such a person established Brahma Samaj, a new dispensation founded by Keshav Chandra Sen. But nobody says it was founded through the will of God. This feeling, Sri Ramakrishna points out emphatically, I am the doer. That is ignorance. That is ignorance. And he tells, what is knowledge then? He has clearly said what is ignorance. What is knowledge? O God, thou art the doer, and I am only an instrument. Thou art the operator, and I am the machine. That is knowledge. So if you take this idea into your heart, then that light of knowledge will dispel your ignorance of I and mine. When a person really acquires knowledge, when we say a person is illumined. When we say a person is realized, a God-man, he behaves in a way expressing godly qualities in himself. Such a man says, "O God, nothing belongs to me. Neither this house of worship, nor this Kali temple, nor this Brahma Samaj. Nothing is mine, they are all thine. Wife, son, and family, and all the things, they don't belong to me. They are all thine. They are all thine." Now we have to come to the point. When you know what is the cause of ignorance, you must try to uproot that ignorance. If you don't act upon, then be prepared to suffer. Even by putting blame on anybody, you won't be free from suffering. On the other hand, you will increase your suffering, because by putting blame on others, you are adding one more impure act. So, the question is, how to get rid of this ego, which constantly causes irritation, pain and suffering. Every moment your face, color of your face changes, your movement changes, your talking changes, your actions change, all because of this most wonderful ego which you have cultivated, which you have allowed it to inflate to such an extent, you have become slave of your ego. You are prepared to do anything on account for the sake of ego. Anything. Why the worst crime is being committed? Because of the ego. Because of the revengeful attitude. Such and such a person insulted me. He talked abusively. He hurt my feelings. What is this, my feeling, your feeling, all sorts of things. That means, what happened to your spiritual aspirations, if you are thinking in those lines? So Sri Ramakrishna tells you the way. The way to get rid of ego. There are so many ways. One way is, easy way of course is, you have to surrender yourself to your most beloved God. First of all, you must have complete trust in God. Do you really love Him? That's a big question. Your spirituality begins from that point. When He is your most beloved God, then there should not be any difficulty for you to surrender yourself totally. Self-surrender means surrender of the ego. Submerging your own will completely in God's will. Now let us study an example. There is a child. It is playing cheerfully. It wants to climb the upstairs. It came near the staircase. Somehow, by crawling, it came near the first step of the staircase. Then he tries to put his little hands on the step and tries to lift its leg, right leg, to put on the step. It wants to climb. But somehow that doesn't seem to work well. Then he tries to lift his left leg. That too works badly. So the child is struggling this way to climb the steps. In that process, it suddenly falls on its back. It falls with a great thud. Naturally, it got hurt and it began to weep. You can see, you don't have to teach how to do japa to the children. They know very well. They teach you. If you have to learn how to do japa, go and observe the children. How many times, how repeatedly, how fast they repeat mami, mama, 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 like that. It cries and cries and cries. It cannot do anything else. It has not even the will to rise. It doesn't want to do anything else. Just its whole being is concentrated on crying mother. Because the child has tremendous faith and tremendous love with mother. It has got full reliance on the mother. It knows mother will take care of everything. Whatever it wants, the mother will fulfill it. That great confidence. It's all included in its crying. When it cries with that force. And mother too, mother loves the child. All along she was engaged in her work because the child was playing. Now the child is crying. So she drops all the work and runs to the child. So, when the child sees the mother, it again bursts into cries. It weeps all the more, vehemently, indicating that its desire must be immediately fulfilled. That's the idea there. How mother handles the situation. She takes the child in affection, takes it in her arms. She tries to pacify the child. After some time, of course, the child somewhat comforted. Then it shows by its little hand that it wants to go upstairs. So in no time, mother carries the baby up. Already the baby is happy. Though the tears are not yet dried, the child now begins to look around and through the window. He bubbles forth in that sort of irrepressible laugh which babies and saints alone know. Nobody can understand the meaning of the baby's laughter. The baby claps his hands, though they seldom really fall on each other. No pain is now remembered. It's all fun, all joy, all wonder. And mother watches the baby with glistening eyes. This is a hint of what self-surrender to God is like. I told you in the beginning, the only way to handle the most sophisticated ego is just to surrender that ego at the feet of God. One thing must be noted here. It is that the baby cried only after failing in his mightiest self-effort to negotiate the steps, and not before that. First it tried, it failed, then it called for the help. In the same manner, we are all trying to go upstairs. We are all as spiritual aspirants, trying to reach the top, the place of illumination, where there is all fun, all wonder, all peace, and all bliss. We are anxious to reach that place. And at first, vain, self-conscious and proud as we are, we think, what's the difficulty? We shall become pure, we shall conquer Maya. Go jumping up the steps and reach illumination. So, on the very first step, what is that? Self-control. We stumble. We get our ego badly bruised. We catch a glimpse of how terrible is this Maya, which has become the very stuff of our body, brain and mind, which is a warp and weft of this phenomenal world. Maya is so terribly subtle that even when someone says, I shall become pure, even that pious intention also somehow turns out to be the product of Maya or illusion. For what is I? What is impurity? Who can answer this question? Do I know who I am? Do I know what is purity? If I knew who I really am, I would not have to become pure. For I, the Atman, cannot become pure. It is purity itself. It is Maya which puts me into my brain the idea of this little ego, a product of identification of seer with instrument of seeing of the Atman with the body and mind. Probably you are well aware of what Lord Christ has said. It's worth remembering that statement in this context. Lord Christ says, "Abide in me, and I in you. As a branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine. No more can ye, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me ye can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch, and is withered. And men gather them and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what ye will, and it shall be done unto you." St. John's Gospel, you can see this quotation. Without abiding in God, or as here in Christ, there is no bringing forth spiritual fruits. Abiding in God, what does it mean? It means to empty yourself of the ego. Emptying your ego is called abiding yourself in God. Allow God to work through you. Surely without me ye can do nothing, for by God alone everything is done. Integration, disintegration, creation, preservation, destruction, everything is done by Him. Even the movement of the blade of grass is by the will of God. We are only His instruments. And when at last, after many trials and failures, we realize this fact that without me, He can do nothing. This you will realize only after passing through tremendous experience of failures and trials and tribulations and sufferings. Then a cry goes forth from the depths of your heart. O Lord, I know what is virtue, I know what is righteousness, but I have not the inclination to practice them. I know what is wise, I know what is unrighteousness, but I have not the power to desist from them. Therefore, O Lord of the senses, indweller of my spirit, I do things as you impel me to do. This is indeed the spirit of self-surrender to God. No use of fretting and fuming, tearing the hair, etc. For Truly, without Him, we can do nothing. This point has been made absolutely clear by Sri Krishna in the Gita. In the course of his teachings, he says to Arjuna, bound by your own karma, that means by your own actions, which is born of your own nature, what through delusion you seek not to do, you shall do even against your will. You are just forced to do. The Lord is really very compassionate, so He is pointing out where exactly we go wrong. Lord Krishna tells further, the Lord dwells in the hearts of all beings, and by His Maya causes the beings to revolve as though they are mounted on a machine. Verily, this divine Maya of mine, says Krishna, consisting of the gunas, it is made up of 3 gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas. It is really very hard to overcome. Really very hard to overcome. But then Lord Krishna Himself gives a hope. If you take refuge, if you surrender yourself to me alone, certainly you will cross over this Maya. Because who is Lord Krishna? He is the Mayadhipati. Sri Ramakrishna has been giving teachings in various ways. How to fight the worldliness. You will have to get over the worldliness in order to come towards God. That means Sri Ramakrishna is suggesting to practice dispassion towards the world, towards the things of the world. Somehow you must find out the technique of getting rid of worldliness from your heart. It is this worldliness that is responsible for all this suffering, for everything, I should say. So, if you have to have the real peace, real joy, then it follows you will have to free yourself from all types of worldliness. So Sri Ramakrishna is very definite about this. He tells there is no substance whatsoever in the worldly life. If you analyze it calmly, quietly, silently, you will understand what Sri Ramakrishna had said is really true. Generally, what do you see? Sri Ramakrishna himself tells that. Quarrels, misunderstandings, jealousy, and friction. Everyone in this world, whether he is an illiterate or a great scholar, he is aware of these things. As long as you are in the world, you will be under fire, under the influence of any one of these. It is not the end of it. Sri Ramakrishna tells further, there are disease, grief, and added to that, poverty. All these things are there. In spite of it, we don't try to give up this most unreal world. So seeing this condition, Sri Ramakrishna stood before the Divine Mother and prayed, "O Mother, please turn my mind at once from the world to God." These are all prayers Sri Ramakrishna did before Divine Mother in order to show how we should pray in front of God. You have to pray to Mother to remove worldliness from your heart. That's very important teaching which Sri Ramakrishna is giving to us. It is very important if you have to have spiritual experience, there should not be worldliness in you. That means there should not be worldliness in you means what? It means you should not hate anyone, you should not become jealous of anyone, you should not quarrel with anyone, you shouldn't have any misunderstanding. So you have to be careful. What happens because of our ego, even in the name of spiritual life, we tend to become more egoistic, more quarrelsome, more jealous. So as long as these qualities are not uprooted from your heart, how can you have spiritual experience? How can you have real peace? How can you have joy? So, Sri Ramakrishna is telling very clearly to brush aside all hatred, all jealousy, all selfishness and egotism, worst of it. So, how to do them? It is true. It is true that we are amidst serpents of jealousy, hatred, and so on. So Sri Ramakrishna suggests, let discrimination guard the doors of your mind, and let not any evil thought enter therein. These two things are to be taken care of. As soon as you wake up in the morning, immediately you must put on the switch of discrimination. And you must be alert not to allow any evil thoughts to bother you. Constant discrimination is required. Constant discrimination leads you towards dispassion. That's what Shankaracharya says in the Viveka Chudamani. Viveka Vairagya. These are the most important factors in our spiritual life. Viveka and Vairagya, discrimination and renunciation, both should be very strong in you when you are seeking spiritual achievement. You must have these two things, discrimination and renunciation. Don't desire anything of the world. Even the little desire that comes to you, it takes away your mental energy in that direction, and you will have to struggle to fulfill that desire. If you are not able to fulfill it, you resort to some unpleasant actions in order to fulfill your desire. It leads to so many other things. So what the important point what Sri Ramakrishna is trying to impress upon the spiritual aspirants is that never allow worldliness in your heart. Worldliness is like dirty water. As long as you are in the dirty water, you will have the bad smell of the water. So, you have to be careful about these instructions given by Sri Ramakrishna. No more need to be in dirty water. Take bath in a clean water. Discrimination and dispassion make the water clean. So how people, under the influence of the world lose all their wonderful human qualities and behave in a very wretched way. As I told in the beginning, jealousy, hatred and all these things are part and parcel of worldliness. If you find any jealousy anywhere, if you find hatred, be sure that he is yet to become spiritual. They are the indications. So, you have to know the bad consequences of these things, how jealousy, hatred, I already referred to them as serpents, deadly poison. There were two people living in the neighborhood. Somehow, jealousy crept into their hearts. One was jealous of the other. One cannot bear the happiness of the other. His heart breaks at the progress of the other. So what happened? Somehow they wanted to propitiate God and take some boons so that they can enjoy the world more. With that idea, both of them went to a forest, began to do certain austerities. Then, of course, whenever a person does some austerity, it gives result. So, whatever God they were meditating upon with a concentrated mind, that God appeared. He appeared to one person and asked him, "What do you want?" The person immediately came to know that his neighbor is also doing austerity nearby. He was jealous of him. He doesn't want his neighbor to be happy. So he calculated all these things in his mind. Then he asked the boon. So he asked, "Let me lose one eye." Then the God said, "All right." Then he went to the another man. He put the same question, "What do you want?" The other neighbor thought, probably he might have asked a lot of wealth. So he calculated in his own way. He was also jealous of this man. So he asked God, "Well, whatever you have granted to him, you give me double of that." He had asked, he may lose one eye, but he asked the double the quantity, so he lost both the eyes. So, how the worldliness leads to all sorts of crimes and actions. It is horrible to think about. So as you think, so you act. As thoughts of love help in expanding the self, so do the thoughts of anger and jealousy lead to contraction. So Sri Ramakrishna is telling to get rid of this worldliness. Then only you will have the experience of spiritual achievements. Worldliness must go. There are many instances how the worldliness ruins a person. Because there is a story of Duryodhan in Mahabharata, full of jealousy to the brim. Jealousy, hatred, anger, all in full proportion. So he would never tolerate the prosperity of his cousins. They are called Pandavas. Duryodhan and his brothers, they were called as Kauravas. So he tried to finish the lives of those Pandavas in any manner. He even plotted to kill them unawares. In the name of going to swimming to the lake, Duryodhan forcibly drowned one of the Pandavas into the waters. His idea was, let him be killed by drinking the water. In so many ways, not one or two, so many ways. If you read the story of Mahabharata, it is a very interesting story. If you read it, you will understand how the fight between good and bad is depicted there in all details. So, he would not tolerate the happiness of the Pandavas. He didn't want them even to live, at least with the minimum comforts in the life. He just wanted to send them to the forest. He adopted crooked methods. So all these things led towards his total destruction. Not only he died, the whole Kaurava race was wiped out totally. There was a fierce battle. Everybody died. So, that is the world. So Sri Ramakrishna is telling to the disciples, to the devotees who came there, enough of quarrels. How long you keep on quarreling like this? Put a stop. Devote your mind to God. Engage yourself in healthy, selfless activities. Selfless activity is very important. If you are conscious that you are doing selfless activity, then your ego will not bother you. So you have to be very careful in doing the activities so that you maintain your level of devotion to God. Once you are engaged in healthy, selfless activities, once you are devoting yourself totally in the work of God, naturally morality and purity will follow. You don't have to struggle for purity. You don't have to think about that. Naturally you will get those results. So your whole attention should be on God. Every day you must think, today I must make the best use of the day. Throughout my action, let me always keep my thought on God, keep my mind on God. Don't entertain any kind of vengeance or revenge towards anybody. Even if there are chances of getting hurt, though for the time being you may feel bad, but soon you must forget it. Try to forget even though you have been insulted. To forget is the higher virtue. Forget the bad things. You don't have to react, don't have retaliatory mood, but on the other hand, pray to God so that peace will prevail. So that thinking is important. Then only you will have remarkable progress in spiritual life. Spiritual life is to be well established, to have spiritual achievements. So, we have to be definite about our life. Though we are living in this world, though we are staying in home, yet it should be possible to practice spirituality. Practice of spirituality means fighting the evil, establishing oneself on the noble virtues. Sri Ramakrishna, in the course of his talks, said to Pandit Shashadhar, a great scholar of that time, a very sincere, devoted scholar, brought up in well-established orthodox tradition. He commanded great respect among the people, and he was a source of inspiration to large number of people. He explained to them the philosophy and the teachings of the Upanishads. And he would always go and give discourses on the spiritual matters. A very sincere person. So if one is sincere and straightforward, God comes to him. Shows his grace to him. Gives peace and joy to him. Here is the example. Sri Ramakrishna himself came to see him. Sri Ramakrishna had met previously one great scholar at that time, a philanthropist, well-respected scholar. His name was Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. And he had requested Divine Mother that he should like to see another scholar, and Sri Ramakrishna felt that Divine Mother responded to his prayer, and he has come to talk to Pandit Shashadhar directly. How through his talks he made Pandit aware of practical spirituality. In the course of his talks with him, Sri Ramakrishna said in clear terms that in this modern age, the path of devotion described by Narad is best. Sri Ramakrishna himself practiced devotion, got the desired result, practiced the path of knowledge, experienced the absolute reality. With all that experience, he is telling, in this age, bhakti